The engine of a white dual-cab utility cuts through the silence of a Perth night. Its registration, 1BFC417, would soon become one of the most sought-after license plates in Western Australia. But on May 15, 2025, as this vehicle approached Auburn Grove train station, the driver had no idea their every move was being watched by dozens of surveillance cameras. What happened next would expose the brutal reality of motorcycle club justice, where loyalty is tested with fire and betrayal is punished with bullets. The discovery, just before 10 p.m. on a cold Thursday evening, a security guard at Rockingham General Hospital noticed something horrifying outside the emergency department entrance. A man lay collapsed on the concrete, his body telling a story of unimaginable violence. This wasn't just another assault victim. The 51-year-old man bore multiple gunshot wounds to his thigh and shoulder, but that wasn't the worst of it. Across his legs, burns covered areas where someone had systematically torched the skin. Burns that Detective Senior Sergeant Anthony Thompson would later describe as consistent with someone trying to remove club-related tattoos. We believe he was dropped off and just left there, which is a rather callous way to deal with someone with life-threatening injuries, Thompson told reporters the following day. The man was rushed to Royal Perth Hospital, where he fought for his life in serious but stable condition. But this wasn't a random attack. Police immediately recognized the victim as a patched member of the Comanchero Outlaw Motorcycle Club. And more than that, he was Leslie "Lethal Les" Grantham, the club's one-time sergeant-at-arms. The sergeant-at-arms. In the hierarchy of outlaw motorcycle clubs, the sergeant-at-arms holds a position of immense power and responsibility. They are the enforcers, the disciplinarians, the ones who maintain order within the brotherhood. For Leslie Grantham to end up burned and bleeding outside a hospital spoke to something far more sinister than a simple dispute. Grantham wasn't just any member. He was a veteran of the club's internal politics. Someone who had risen through the ranks to become one of the most trusted positions in the organization. The sergeant-at-arms is typically responsible for maintaining discipline during meetings, protecting the club's hierarchy, and ensuring that club rules are followed to the letter. But on that May evening, it appeared those very rules had been turned against him. Detective Senior Sergeant Thompson's assessment was blunt. This is a targeted attack, and there is no ongoing risk to the public. The message was clear. This was club business, handled in the most brutal way possible. The vehicle swap. The investigation that followed would reveal a level of planning that showed this wasn't a crime of passion. Using CCTV footage from across Perth's southern suburbs, detectives began piecing together the events that led to Grantham's near-death experience. The breakthrough came from an unlikely source, Auburn Grove train station, a major transport hub serving Perth's growing southern communities. The station, which opened in 2017 and handles nearly 4,000 boarding passengers daily, sits in the median of the Quinina Freeway with extensive surveillance coverage. CCTV footage showed something extraordinary. Several people had met at the station before the shooting and swapped vehicles. This wasn't a spontaneous act of violence. It was orchestrated with military precision. The white and gray dual-cab utility with registration 1BFC417 became central to the investigation. Police allege this vehicle was used to transport Grantham to a location where he was shot and burned, before the same car delivered him to Rockingham Hospital. The vehicle swap at Auburn Grove suggested multiple people were involved, each playing a specific role in what appeared to be a carefully planned operation. The choice of location was telling. The train station provided multiple escape routes, and the busy transport hub would normally mask any suspicious activity. The code of silence. What happened next would frustrate investigators and highlight one of the biggest challenges in prosecuting outlaw motorcycle club crimes. Despite being the victim of an attempted murder, Leslie Grantham refused to cooperate with police. Western Australia's top cop, Police Commissioner Colonel Blanche, didn't mince words. The maimed Comanchero was refusing to help because he was following the club's code of silence. This code, deeply embedded in outlaw motorcycle club culture, dictates that members never cooperate with law enforcement, regardless of the circumstances. Even when facing life-threatening injuries inflicted by their own brothers, the code demands silence. He's following the bikie code of silence, Commissioner Blanche explained, highlighting the challenge police face when investigating these organizations. Even the victims become unwilling participants in the investigation of their own attempted murder. The code of silence isn't just about loyalty, it's about survival. In the world of outlaw motorcycle clubs, being labeled a rat or police informant can be a death sentence. For Grantham, Cooperation with police might have provided justice, but it could also have made him a target for further violence. The Comanchero Legacy. To understand the violence that erupted in Perth, you need to understand the Comanchero Motorcycle Club's history of brutality and internal conflict. Founded in Sydney in 1966 by Scottish immigrant William George Jock Ross, the Comancheros quickly gained a reputation as one of Australia's most violent outlaw motorcycle clubs. Ross, who gave himself the grandiose title of Supreme Commander, ran the club with military-style discipline that many members found oppressive. The club's history is written in blood. The 1984 Milpera massacre, where 7 people died in a shootout between Comancheros and rival club Bandidos, remains one of the darkest chapters in Australian criminal history. The violence was witnessed by ordinary families enjoying a Father's Day gathering, turning a public venue into a war zone. More recently, the 2009 Sydney airport brawl saw Comancheros clash with Hell's Angels in front of shocked travelers, resulting in the death of Anthony Zervas. The fight was captured on CCTV and witnessed by over 50 people, showcasing the club's willingness to bring their wars into public spaces. Perth chapter struggles. The Comanchero expansion into Western Australia has been marked by setbacks and internal strife. The club's attempts to establish a strong presence in Perth were initially derailed by Operation Baystone in 2010, which targeted key figures before they could fully establish operations. Steve Milankovsky, who was about to be patched as Perth's chapter president, was arrested along with associates in a drug operation that seized 7.5 kilograms of methamphetamine. Milankovsky was later sentenced to 17 years as the operation's kingpin. Despite these setbacks, the Comancheros eventually established a chapter in Perth, operating from premises on Wellman Street in Northbridge. However, the club has faced ongoing pressure from law enforcement operations targeting their activities. Recent years have seen multiple high-profile arrests of Perth Comanchero members, including charges for drug trafficking, money laundering, and armed robbery. The attempt to leave. According to police sources, Grantham's brutal treatment was connected to his alleged attempt to leave the notorious motorcycle club. In the world of outlaw motorcycle clubs, leaving isn't as simple as handing in a resignation letter. Club membership is often described as once in, always in. Members who attempt to leave, especially those in positions of authority like sergeant-at-arms, can face severe consequences. The club sees departure as betrayal, particularly when it involves someone with intimate knowledge of operations and internal affairs. The burning of Grantham's club-related tattoos wasn't just about removing evidence of membership. It was a symbolic act of punishment and humiliation. These tattoos, often elaborate and prominently displayed, represent years of commitment and loyalty to the club. Their forced removal sends a clear message about the consequences of betrayal. The methodical nature of the burning suggests this wasn't done in the heat of anger, but as a calculated punishment. Someone took the time to systematically target the areas where club tattoos were located, turning the symbols of brotherhood into sources of agony. The investigation continues. 3 days after the attack, no charges had been laid, despite police having what Commissioner Blanche described as a good indication of who was responsible. The investigation faced the familiar challenges of motorcycle club crimes. Witnesses who won't talk, victims who won't cooperate, and a culture of silence that protects perpetrators. The CCTV evidence from Auburn Grove provided crucial leads, but building a case strong enough for prosecution requires more than surveillance footage. Investigators needed witnesses, physical evidence, and preferably cooperation from the victim, none of which were forthcoming. The release of CCTV footage showing the vehicle swap was a strategic move by police, designed to pressure those involved and encourage public tips. The distinctive white and gray dual-cab utility became a key piece of evidence, but tracking its movements and identifying its occupants would require extensive investigation. The broader pattern. The attack on Leslie Grantham wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a broader pattern of violence within Australian outlaw motorcycle clubs. Internal disputes, power struggles, and attempts to leave the club have repeatedly resulted in serious violence. Recent years have seen multiple incidents of club members being targeted by their former brothers. The culture of these organizations, built on concepts of loyalty and respect enforced through violence, creates an environment where disputes can quickly escalate to attempted murder. The use of burning to remove tattoos has become an increasingly common punishment method within these clubs. sending a message to other members about the consequences of betrayal. The medical battle. At Royal Perth Hospital, medical staff worked to save Grantham's life, while police waited outside, hoping he might eventually cooperate with their investigation. The gunshot wounds to his thigh and shoulder were serious, but not life-threatening. The burns, however, presented unique challenges. Burns covering areas where tattoos had been forcibly removed required specialized treatment. The deliberate nature of these injuries, targeting specific areas of the body for symbolic rather than tactical reasons, revealed the calculated cruelty of the attack. Grantham would eventually recover from his physical injuries and be released from hospital, but the psychological scars of betrayal by his former brothers would likely last much longer. The club's response. While the Comanchero organization maintained its typical silence about internal affairs, the message sent by Grantham's treatment was clear to other members. The club's willingness to inflict such violence on a senior member demonstrated that no one was above club justice. The systematic nature of the attack, the planning, the vehicle swap, the careful disposal at a hospital, showed an organization operating with military-style precision. This wasn't the work of angry individuals, but a coordinated response sanctioned at the highest levels. For other Comanchero members contemplating leaving the club, Grantham's ordeal served as a powerful deterrent. The message was unmistakable. Loyalty is not optional, and betrayal comes with severe consequences. The changing landscape. The attack on Grantham occurred during a period of significant change in Perth's outlaw motorcycle club scene. Recent months had seen a massive shift in allegiances, with senior rebels members, including Carl LeBrook, defecting to the Comancheros after disputes with their national leadership. LeBrook's high-profile move to the Comancheros, announced by wearing their colors to court, represented a significant coup for the club. However, it also highlighted the fluid nature of loyalties in the outlaw motorcycle world, where personal disputes and power struggles can quickly reshape alliances. The influx of new members from rival clubs would have created tensions within the existing Comanchero hierarchy. Questions of loyalty, trust, and commitment would have been paramount, making Grantham's alleged attempt to leave particularly poorly timed. Law enforcement response. The brutal attack prompted an immediate response from law enforcement agencies. Detective Senior Sergeant Thompson announced that police would be monitoring outlaw motorcycle clubs hard over the next few days to ensure that the community is safe. This increased surveillance was designed both to prevent retaliation and to gather intelligence about club activities during a period of heightened tension. The public nature of Grantham's dumping at a hospital had brought unwanted attention to the club's activities. The investigation involved multiple units, including the Elite Gang Crime Squad, who specialized in dealing with outlaw motorcycle club crimes. These detectives understood the unique challenges of investigating these organizations and the importance of building cases that could withstand the club's sophisticated legal defenses. The waiting game. Months after the attack, the investigation continues. Police have their suspicions, their evidence, and their surveillance footage, but building a prosecution case against outlaw motorcycle club members requires patience and persistence. The code of silence that protects these organizations also makes them vulnerable to long-term investigation. While witnesses won't talk immediately, changing circumstances, new arrests, and mounting pressure can eventually crack the wall of silence. For the investigators working this case, the challenge isn't just solving one attempted murder. It's dismantling a culture of violence that has plagued Australian communities for decades. The aftermath. Leslie "Lethal Les" Grantham survived his ordeal, but his attempted murder exposed the brutal reality of outlaw motorcycle club justice. In a world where loyalty is measured by silence and betrayal is punished with fire, his story serves as a chilling reminder of the violence that lurks beneath the surface of these organizations. The white dual cab utility, with registration 1BFC 417, has been found, the CCTV footage analyzed, and the investigation continues. But the broader questions raised by this case, about loyal justice and the price of trying to leave a life of crime, remain unanswered. As police continue their hunt for the perpetrators, one thing is certain: in the world of outlaw motorcycle clubs, some secrets are worth dying for, and some betrayals can never be forgiven. The attack on Leslie Grantham wasn't just an attempted murder, it was a message, a warning to anyone thinking of crossing the Comanchero Motorcycle Club that there are consequences more permanent than prison and more painful than death. And in the silence that followed, broken only by the sound of hospital machines keeping a former sergeant-at-arms alive, that message echoed through the halls of every outlaw motorcycle club in Australia. The revolution may eat its own, but in the world of the Comancheros, loyalty isn't just expected, it's enforced with bullets and fire.